Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Brothers and sisters, I present my first talk ever on a topic of my own choosing, to do my own personal dawah, because it's kind of a new topic for me and I'd like to present it to you. My topic is going to be the presence of Allah. So the question we're going to ask is, what would happen if one were in the presence of Allah? What would happen? And so we're going to think about this question. And I can tell you a word comes to my mind almost immediately. And I don't know what word comes to your mind when you think about this. And I'm talking what? About the physical presence of Allah. And verily, we don't even know anything about that. That's not a realm of knowledge which we have any knowledge of. But the first thought that's coming to my mind is overwhelming. That sounds overwhelming. That sounds like I don't know what I would do. Verily, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the Almighty. He is Al-Aziz. He is Al-Jabbar. He is the Compeller. Verily, He is Ar-Rahman. He is the most merciful. He is Al-Qadim. He is the most strong. Imagine being in presence. You're in the presence now of the most powerful and the most merciful. And all of these other attributes, and we could list them. Invariably 99 of His names. The Asma al-Husna, the best names He has shared with us. And if you know those traits, perhaps you would also feel overwhelmed if you were in His presence. And so, what would happen? Such an overwhelming, the most strong, the most powerful. Well, immediately, I can tell you I think is I don't know if I would be, what would happen to me, but I would be overwhelmed. What would be overwhelmed? Everything would be overwhelmed. Because verily Allah is eternal and absolute, infinite in His power, but in His wisdom. And so, you would feel everything. Can you imagine feeling everything? Feeling everything. That means your eyes, they would be blinded, you couldn't see. It would be so bright. But they would also see the most beautiful thing they had ever seen at the same time. And your taste, you would taste everything. You would taste the most weird and things you would never want to taste, but you would taste the most perfect and beautiful and best tastes as well. And your smell, you would smell everything just as well. And the smells would be so strong, they would overpower you with the strangeness of such strong, overwhelming of the sense of the nose. And your ears, you would be deafened, but you would be also hearing something more beautiful than you'd ever heard before. And your body, it would feel every sense. It would feel heat. It would feel cold. It would feel pleasure. It would feel pain. It would feel every sensation imaginable, all bombarding you at once. And this is just the 5 classic senses that we refer to. This is just your sensations. What about your feelings? You would feel everything. You would feel every emotion. You would be happy and you would be sad. You would feel every emotion overwhelming. Your mind would be overwhelmed. It would be foggy, but it would be clear. every aspect, you would be in the presence, the physical presence of Allah. And verily, we are just sons of Adam. We are not Rasul, we are not Nabi. There would be no shield there for you. If you were in the presence of Allah, you would be overwhelmed. And that might be an understatement, as I have described. And so what would you do? What would you do if you were in the presence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Well, with such an overwhelming, with everything, even the heart would be feeling all these different forces. Your mind, it would be as clear as it is confused. What would you do? And oh, brothers and sisters, I can tell you what you would do. What you would do is you would prostrate. You would sujud. You would go down on your forehead and nose and your hands and your knees. And you would prostrate. Because no other position of your body could bear such overwhelming. The power of that presence would draw you to your hands and knees and forehead, and you would prostrate. And verily, Allah has told us in the Quran, in Al-Alaq, at the very end, wasjud wa qatarib, and that means and prostrate and draw near. Verily, brothers and sisters, we are always in the presence of Allah. And we know from the concept of Ihsan that even though we cannot see Him, He can see us. And therefore, prostration, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has already told us, is the closest physical act we can do in this world to draw near to Him. And yet what's interesting is if you imagine being in such divine presence, the only natural thing, the only thing you could do without getting crushed in such presence, such powerful presence, is to prostrate. That presence, though, is merciful, the most merciful thing. And yet, you would prostrate to draw near and to attain the ability to even be able to cope with such powerful presence. And so it is validated too in the Quran that this is the drawing near. And so one thing we can get from this is that, as I say, we're always in the presence of Allah. And because of that, we should always be humbled and be modest and respect those divine attributes and divine traits which He has revealed to us. Because verily we want to, what is the physical presence of Allah? It's just something a concept I'm talking about here, but we don't really comprehend it. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he can appreciate and comprehend that which we don't really understand and can't appreciate. For verily, he has been there. But us, it's just normal people, we cannot possibly understand and attain that level of understanding. But just remember, you are in the presence of Allah even right now. You want to see Allah, but you look all around you, and what do you see? You see the creation of Allah, and verily, His creation is here, is just a test. It reflects His divine will. And so if you can't appreciate that, you can conceptualize like I have, and imagine more. But I ask you, the next time you make your salat, the next time you make your prayer, and you take your sujood, think, imagine if you were in the presence of the most powerful, the most wise, the most merciful, the only friend or helper who is true. Imagine what that would be like. Because verily you would prostrate and you would draw near to him. So, because ultimately the peace that we're trying to attain in this world is only going to come by drawing near to Allah in the greatest physical expression you can do. One which will shield your forehead on Qayyimah, on the Day of Judgment, from the hellfire. That closeness is going to help bring you spiritual peace. Yes, a physical act. A physical act is going to bring you a spiritual peace and closeness to Allah. And you can work on bringing your soul, your nafs, to becoming a mutama'inna. A mutama'inna, a soul which is at peace. In Surah Al-Fajr, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, يا أيها النفس مطمئنة ارجعي إلى ربك راضية مرضية وادخلي في عبادي وادخلي جنتي. Truly, O soul, which has attained spiritual peace towards perfection, return to your Lord, pleased and pleasing, and enter among his slaves. Enter paradise. Truly, that is our ultimate achievement in this life, if we can make it to paradise. And inshallah, those of us who work hard to be steadfast and upright and prostrate regularly by making our 5 daily prayers and our optional prayers and other prayers, this great physical act is the closest we will come in this world, in this short life, to being near to Allah, which is why He has told us to do it. In Surah Inshiqaq, there's a series of verses which tells us more about this. And I will recite those. لَتَرْكَبُونَ تَبَكًا أَنْ تَبَكْ فَمَا لَهُمْ لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ وَإِذَا قُرِئَ عَلَيْهِمْ الْقُرْآنُ لَا يَسْجُدُونَ. At which point we prostrate in the prayer. بَلِ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا يُكَذِّبُونَ وَاللَّهُ أَعْلَمُ بِمَا يَوْنُونَ. So that is saying, truly you pass from stage to stage in life. So why then do they not believe? And when the Quran is recited to them, not do they prostrate. But those who disbelieve, they deny. And Allah knows what they hide. Because, in fact, we're always in the presence of Allah, as I said. And part of what's important about passing between the stages of our life is that when we hear the Quran, and truly every day we must recite the Quran, we prostrate and we draw near to Him. because truly He knows what's inside of us, and He knows that those people who are ignoring His messages, who are avoiding them, who are neglecting their prayers, who are turning away, who are rejecting, who are hiding from the message, who are not maintaining and keeping their duty, well, He knows the disease inside of them. He knows what they're hiding. He knows why. He knows everything. So, truly the one thing that's important as we pass through the stages of our lives, and Allah has acknowledged that we're passing through stages in life. Our life is stages. It's not the same when you were a baby, is when you're a child, is when you are finally grown up, is when you start to get older and mature, and when you hit old age. And it's not even just stages, perhaps, that's age. It could just be the stage in a given year. There's different things. You're spending a few months doing one job and maybe another job, and you're not married and then you're married. And maybe, other big events in your life will occur. You're passing through stages in this life, but there's a constant, and you will hear the Quran and you will prostrate. And if you don't, it's a sign that you're concealing something. If the knowledge has come to you, you're concealing something if you're not prostrating and drawing near to Allah. So I can't put enough emphasis on the importance of prostration as a physical act. Because although there's other physical acts where we can attain the blessings of Allah, what act can draw so near to Allah as prostrating? So think about this the next time you pray, and I hope this is open up your eyes, giving you new perspective, perhaps, on this topic. Thank you very much. If you've actually listened to my little dawah talk here, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.